welcome you all here. My name is Dr. Don Wheeler, and I'm with the Community Peace and Justice Forum Network, and also a member of this congregation. We're so glad that you can be with us in this place at this time. It's a very important event, and I'm just going to say a few logistical words because we know who's in charge here. The logistics are that there's a restroom up there at the top of the stairs on the right. Then if you go down the hall, there are 2 more restrooms down the hall. The reception will be afterwards, of course, and it'll be upstairs and to the right. There'll be a sign there, so you shouldn't have any trouble. Welcome, and this is a very important event, and thank you for being here.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Fell, and this is Julia Noose, and we are the co-chapter leaders of the Bergen County March for Our Lives. We would first like to thank Dr. Wheeler and everyone at the Emmanuel Baptist Church and our co-sponsors, Community Peace and Justice Forum Network, and Emmanuel Ridgewood for their enthusiasm in helping March for Our Lives and Students Demand Action, as well as their devotion for our cause. Furthermore, we would like to welcome and thank you all for coming to commemorate the lives lost 2 years ago in Parkland, Florida.
On February 14, 2018, at 2:21 p.m., a fire alarm went off inside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Students shuffled towards the doors, probably happy to get a few minutes in the sunshine before returning to finding derivatives, reading Shakespeare, or conducting chemistry experiments. Pink and red candy wrappers probably scattered the hallways, a reminder of the day's festivities. What made this moment, that happened 725 days ago, different from any other fire drill was the violence that ensued shortly after. Violence that left 17 losses and a community permanently emotionally injured.
However, it is often in times of tragedy that communities must unite, broken individuals becoming one, towards a better future. Stoneman students banded together against the hatred committed, inspired millions across the country and the globe, and created a national movement. We are here today in solidarity with the people of Parkland and are sending love and support to families across the nation affected by gun violence.
We would now like to welcome the Mayor of Ridgewood.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here today. I want to thank Dr. Wheeler and Pastor Gill for opening the doors of the beautiful church today for this very important service. And of course, a special thank you to Lawrence Fine for putting this together. Lawrence is an amazing young man. Big hand for Lawrence. And he's someone that I'm very thankful for everything he does in the community, and particularly with this topic, that he's elevating the issue and raising the dialogue about gun violence, not only with his peers in high school, but also for anything that has to do with gun violence in the broader community. So thank you, Lawrence, for your leadership and for how much you care for this topic. The shooting at Parkland, as you know, was the deadliest high school shooting in the United States. 17 lives were lost, 17 injured, all innocent victims. The average age of those who lost their lives was 15 years old, of the students who lost their lives. Very sad and tragic. And it's one of those things when you think about these types of attacks, they're not just attacks on those who lose their lives. These are multi-level attacks. So, there are attacks on those who died, there are attacks on those who were injured, there are attacks on those who lost their families, family members. There are attacks on all of us who lose a sense of our own security, with fear that these types of events can happen in our communities to our children. So it's a very deep topic, and when you kind of look at all the different layers of what this impacts, it impacts all of us, and sadly, even those who are survivors of these attacks or witnesses to the attacks carry with them very, very deep emotional and psychological scars. Many of them suffer in silence. And for some, it becomes unbearable, as we saw, unfortunately, with the two of the students from Parkland who took their own lives just a year after the attacks. So this is something that just kind of keeps, it stays with us. And it requires a lot of attention, which is why it's important to continue to elevate, the dialogue here. I'm very proud of the fact that our state of New Jersey, has done a tremendous job in that regard. We according to the Giffords Law Center, we rank just behind California, number 2. We're number 2 behind California in terms of how strong and strict our gun laws are. And there's a very high correlation, right? Those states that have very strict gun laws are the ones that tend to have less gun violence. But unfortunately, these are not the United States of New Jersey. There are other states, and unfortunately, not every state takes gun violence as seriously as we do. And it's one of the things that I think it's important for us to continue to reach out to our elected officials to continue to promote. I'm very proud of the fact that Senator Bob Menendez is working with Senator Elizabeth Warren now to unveil some sweeping common sense gun violence legislation, the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act. And it's, there are a lot of common sense things in there that we need to be looking into. When we look at, what other states are doing, again, like I mentioned, not every state is as good as New Jersey in this regard. But there are a lot of states, because we have this patchwork of laws in different states, what tends to happen is that you allow this trafficking of guns to go from the states that aren't as strong. So if you look at, the states that receive the highest grades, almost like in school, an A versus F, 8 out of the 10 states where most of the guns are trafficked through have an F grade, right, failing grade. And those guns, unfortunately, make it to the states that have A grades. When we look at the amount of guns that are recovered from crime scenes in the A states, more than half of them come from those other states. So it's very important for us to continue that fight. So I encourage everyone to continue to contact elected officials, write to them, make sure they listen, and if they don't listen, make your voices heard at the ballot and at the voting booth, and make sure that you vote out those who are not working for you. So I appreciate you all being here. The fact that you're here just tells me that you stand on the side of those who are against gun violence, that you stand with those who want a better and brighter future for our children. And I thank you for that. So before I move on, I'm very proud to introduce our next speaker. He's someone who's always got the backs of the people in his district. He's always working hard for us here. He's fighting many different battles. He's someone who's very passionate about gun violence and is really fighting the good fight for us at the federal level. And he's a friend to Ridgewood. He's always been here. Anytime that we need him for anything, he's always responsive, always picks up the phone. And I appreciate his friendship, and I appreciate all the work that he does for all of us and for always having our backs. So our congressman from the 5th Congressional District, Josh Gottheimer.
Obviously, this is not going to work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your leadership, your incredible service, the fact that you always show up anywhere in Ridgewood where you're needed speaks volumes about who you are and your commitment, not just to your family, but to the whole family of Ridgewood. So thank you very much, Mayor. I also know that we are joined by several dignitaries, and I don't just mean Lawrence, who is a statesman in his own right and has been a wonderful leader. And the fact that so many of you are here and so involved with Students Man Action, I really want to say thank you to all of you for caring, for taking your time on a Sunday and every day to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So thank you very much to all of you. We're very blessed to be joined by Freeholder Chairwoman Mary Amoroso, who is on the Freeholder Board and does an incredible job, is very committed to this issue. I know Tracy Zur, I think, is joining us in a bit, Freeholder Zur. We are also lucky to be joined by Councilwoman Catrone, who is just from next door in Fairlawn, which is also a great town. She does a wonderful job. Larissa's here, who is from Moms Demand Action. I thought I saw Larissa. Oh, there's Larissa, who also you're talking about a great partnership. I hope I didn't mean anyone. Oh, Dennis Hirschfelder's here, of course, who's the president of the Brady campaign. Thank you, Dennis, for your work. Oh, there's Dennis. There you are, Dennis. I'm looking all over for you. You're hiding in the corner, so thank you very much. I just want to speak to you for a minute this evening. And I want to begin by talking about why what you're doing is so important for what we do in Washington. And that matters, of course, because so much real action happens on the ground. But as I know too often, you rightly, like I do, when another tragedy occurs, throw up my hands and say, why can't we get more done in Washington? Why can't we pass more laws in Washington? Why is this so difficult? You know, this last week was National Gun Violence Survivors Week. And as a member of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, I spoke to many of my colleagues this week, and we all said the same thing. We asked ourselves that question, like we often do, and say, how is it possible that when we hear from survivors, many of them are children who are living with the pain of having experienced gun violence, how is it that this message isn't getting through? And, you know, I wish I had this great answer for you. And I wish I had a great answer for myself on this, because I also look through a glass darkly on this, as the pastor will appreciate it, Mr. Wheeler. Others will appreciate. You look through a glass darkly. You don't understand things like, I just can't understand. But as we look back at this tragedy almost 2 years ago that took children and students and teachers and parents and loved ones away from us forever, I think the only thing we must do today, instead of succumbing to frustration, is doubling down on action. Because if we succumb to our frustration, if we back off, if we stop gathering every month, and if we stop working together, then we let them win. They want to wear us down. They hope that time will halt us. They hope that you'll graduate and that there won't be another organization in your school next year to carry the torch. They'll hope that moms will stop demanding action because they get exhausted. I mean, I don't understand. Larissa never gets exhausted, and the team just keeps going. But listen, it's been 2 years since the gunman walked into Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, opened fire, barbarically killing 17 people, 14 children, injuring 17 others. Too many children, as the mayor said, average age 15. A geography teacher, a football coach, the athletic director. So many families left with a giant hole in their hearts. And I'm sure nothing will ever fill that hole. But we, working together, can try to fill a part of it. And that's really what this is about. You can't bring back the lives lost. You can only honor them with action. And that's why I think this is so important. Vigils like these are so important, because one of the victims is, Alyssa Alhadeff, who lived in our community in Woodcliff Lake and then moved to Florida, to Parkland. I've spent a lot of time with her parents. She's a wonderful young woman, soccer player, so much energy. Her life cut far too short. So we honor her memory and the 16 others, but when I talk to her parents, they haven't given up, and I often say to them, how is it that you get up every single day? I've got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I don't know how they do it. And the thing they've said to me is because we must get this done. This motivates us to get up every day to make sure that this doesn't happen to others. So we have to honor Alyssa and the countless others who've lost their lives to gun violence. I don't know if you saw Fred Guttenberg, who was at the State of the Union. He lost his 14-year-old daughter. I've spent time with him. His daughter was named Jamie. I've seen pictures. I heard so many stories. Wonderful, wonderful person. He said to me, quote, he said publicly, and he said the same thing to me, I'm certain that she's on my shoulder now telling me, you can't put up with this, you need to be strong. So that's our job, for her and for others, to stand up, to stand together, and be strong. Because we're all sick and tired of waging the war against violence every single day, and sometimes it feels like we're running in place. All right, you know the feeling. By the way, I do it on a lot of issues. I sometimes feel like, wait, we have to be getting somewhere on this issue. This makes no sense. But actually, you're not running in place. You are making progress. And that's what I want you to know. It makes a difference. I'll tell you, I'm in Washington. It makes a difference. Speaking up and speaking out and standing strong and staying together makes a difference. We are winning against this fight. It's just not happening as fast as we want it to. So, when you feel like you're sick and tired because another alert comes across your phone and another mass tragedy because of someone has access to a weapon they have no business of using, or when you have to go do a drill in school every year like my kids do and stand on the back of the toilet in the bathroom or know where to go in a classroom, and the teachers have such anxiety because they don't know how they're going to be able to protect all the children, God forbid there was another attack. Use that not as a reason to give up, but use it as a reason to stand up and stand strong. Because if we give up, they win. We cannot lose heart. We must keep at it. Because we know that in the greatest country in the world, with the greatest people working together, we can win. So, I commend you for what you're doing. I ask you to keep speaking up and speaking out, especially for gun legislation, because we need real background checks. We know that. For every single commercial transaction universally, including at gun shows, so that no criminal, gang member, terrorist, or individual with mental illness can brandish a lethal weapon of war. The House Judiciary Committee, we've put the package together. It's sitting there. It's been waiting in the Senate now for 347 days. Waiting. No excuse. But they want you to get tired. Don't let them. Don't let them win. Don't let them get tired. We ask, literally, a group of us go every week and basically knock on the door and say, okay, we're ready. You ready to start debating? Let's go. Come on. 90% of Americans agree that we need background checks. It's not like it's a question of is the country with us on this? The country's with us. It's not a question of that. We're not saying don't go hunt. We're saying, come on. What's wrong with a background check? There's no reason you need a cache of weapons of war. There's no reason for it. Republicans and Democrats all agree. It's not as if, again, this is some issue where we can't find common ground. We all agree that we need real red flag legislation to prevent people who are domestic abusers or those with mental illness from having a weapon. Many of my Republican colleagues also agree that the average American or sportsman or woman doesn't need a military-grade weapon of war, as I said. If you can't wait a few days to pass a simple background check, shouldn't have a gun. Again, they agree. We got bipartisan support for Alyssa's act, which is the Alyssa Legacy Youth and School Safety Alert Act, named after Alyssa. Al-Hadaf. Last February, New Jersey signed legislation into law requiring all New Jersey public schools to install silent panic alarms that can be utilized in an active shooter situation. Why? Because we know that if you pull a fire alarm in the middle of an active shooter situation, that people will run toward it. Right? We saw it in Parkland. So you need silent alarms. New Jersey schools will have them, but only 27% of our schools in America have silent alarms installed to do that. Alyssa's Act will bring the same requirements enshrined in Jersey's law to 98,000 public schools across America. I'm working very hard to make sure that that becomes the law of the land. So, given that in 2020, as of January 31st, there have been 28 mass shootings, 417 last year, we know that enough is enough. So no more fake arguments, please, about why we can't protect our schools and our malls and nightclubs, why we can't stand up to deranged killers or white supremacists or lone wolf terrorists who want to destroy another family. No more excuses. And I know that everybody here agrees. So I just want to thank you for standing together, for standing up, for demanding action every single day. You are our future. You are the reason we are all here, to make sure that you are successful, prosperous, and have everything you need and want to make sure you're safe. To me, that's our job, is to make sure that you can live the lives you want to live. So as we look back and continue to mourn, let's also look forward together here in the greatest country in the world. Thank you, and God bless you, and may God continue to bless and watch over our country. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm a junior at Westwood, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Alyssa. Alyssa Miriam Al-Hadaf was born May 1st, 2003. That made her only 14, a freshman, when she passed away in the shooting. She was such a beautiful soul and a gorgeous girl. And as was mentioned, she lived around here, and although I didn't know her very well, we did go to Hebrew school together, and I have a few memories of her and how beautiful of a person she was. I'm not going to tell you all the stories because that would take a long time, but I remember how happy and sweet she always was. She was a really positive person. She was also a really amazing soccer player. She was a star on and off the field, and I know she would have done really amazing things if she was still here, alive today, instead of being brutally murdered.
Like me, Scott Beagle grew up on Long Island, and like me, Scott was born in 1983, and like me, he grew up to be a teacher. But Scott's life was tragically cut short when he died trying to protect his students. Scott taught geography and coached cross country. He loved his students, but really just loved working with young people in general. Every summer, he went back to be a counselor at Camp Starlight, the camp where he spent his summers as a child. Scott was known to be funny, smart, patient, and full of life. And although many of you students probably consider us teachers to be old, Scott was young and had his whole life ahead of him, having recently gotten engaged to his girlfriend before the shooting. So tonight, we will light this candle in honor of Scott Vigil, a hero, and promise to keep his memory alive so his life was not lost in vain.
My name is Emma Sindoni, and I'm a senior at Tenva High School. Martin Duque was a freshman at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Park. He was born in Coyuca de Catalan, Mexico, and his parents, Daisy and Martin Sr., brought him and his 4 siblings to the United States to give them a better life. He was raised in a supportive family of 7, and he exceeded his parents' expectations, excelling in academics and mirroring his loyalty to God in his friendships and everything he did. He was a dedicated and exemplary JROTC member and wanted to become a Navy SEAL one day. His unwavering compassion and abundance of kindness and generosity to his friends and strangers alike was what he was known for. He could brighten anyone's day and sought to make people smile with his childlike sense of humor. He was presented with the final and most prestigious award, the Medal of Heroism, for his actions on February 14th. Circumstances in order to receive his honor was the acceptance of danger and extraordinary responsibilities, exemplifying praiseworthy fortitude and courage. He practiced what he always preached, that was love and selflessness, and put his life before others.
Hi, my name is Irene Kim, and I'm a sophomore attending BCA. Nicholas Dore was an energetic, determined young man. In only his senior year, as the captain of his high school swim team, the University of Indianapolis was already ready for Dore to join their swim team. He had dreamed of being in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. But most importantly, he was a caring friend, loving boyfriend, and cherished son who constantly lifted up those around him. He was shot on February 14, 2018, in his history class while running out to protect his younger brother just a few classes away from him.
Aaron Feiss was a fellow Marjorie Stoneman Douglas alum, and he played with the Eagles football team, graduating in 1999. When he played at Douglas, he was a lineman on the team. He played from 1995 to 1998. He went on to become an assistant football coach and a security guard for the school. Aaron, who was 37, died on that February 14th protecting students. He ran towards the sounds of gunfire as the shooting occurred. Described as selfless and humble by his neighbors and students, he was known as the unofficial mayor of Parkland because he would go and do anything for his fellow friends and neighbors. He was beloved by the town and by his players, and he left behind his wife and daughter.
Jamie Gutenberg was just 14 years old on February 14th, 2018. She was a loving and supportive friend, dancer, daughter, and sister. As Jamie's dance teacher wrote, "We lost one of our beautiful dancers in this shooting today. Jamie, you were unlike any other. You made yourself well known wherever you are. You were funny, spunky, hilarious, and always brightened everyone's day. She could make anyone in the room laugh and always had a smile on her face. Jamie was courageous, and as her aunt said, she always looked out for the underdog. In honor of Jamie, the dance community has been wearing orange ribbons during competitions or for performances in Parkland. Orange Ribbons for Jamie was created to honor her and support programs that were so near to Jamie's heart. Jamie had her future ahead of her. Wherever Jamie went, she was the energy in the room. Jamie's life was tragically cut short, but her love, passion, and courage will live on.
This is Chris Hickson. He was the athletic director and wrestling coach at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. He coached 5 sports at the high school for no supplemental pay. He was often at the school until 9 o'clock at night for 0 supplemental pay, as I said. No one was surprised to hear the accounts of Chris speeding in a golf cart towards the sound of gunfire. His immediate reaction was to protect the students and stop the shooting. Tell by the dates here, Fred was 11 days short of his 50th birthday. There was a surprise party scheduled for him the week following the shooting. He is survived by his wife, Debbie, and 2 sons, Tommy, a U.S. Marine, and Corey, a special needs young man.
Hi, I'm Zoe Kovac. I'm a sophomore at Ridgewood High School. Luke Hoyer, age 15. While he was known for his one-word responses, his bright smile was contagious to all around him. Just like so many of the innocent lives lost, he was always recognized for being loyal, amusing, and warm-hearted. Today, we remember Luke and the other victims of the Parkland shooting.
Kara Lawgrain was 14 years old, and she was a freshman at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. She loved being with her family and her friends, and she also loved Irish dancing. Her dad, Damien, was an immigrant from Ireland, and he wanted a better life for his family, so he immigrated to Ireland. My father as well immigrated to America for a better life. When I think about Kara, I think about that American life that was cut too short. I think about all the things she could have done for our great country. So I don't want her life to be lost in vain. I know we can do something to do something in her memory, and so we remember her today.
My name is Aaron Friedman, and I'm a junior at Ridgewood High School. At 14 years old, Gina Montalto was a bright young woman whose infectious smile brightened up the darkest of rooms. Through her involvement in Color Guard, Girl Scouts, and her church, she left a very positive impact on others. Her vibrant, free spirit was demonstrated through her passion for art and her love of books. Gina was shot with an AR-15 while working on a project in a hallway at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. She died at a local hospital the evening of February 14th, 2018.
Good afternoon. My name is Emariel Memoli, and I'm a junior at the Academy of Law and Justice in Englewood, New Jersey. Joaquin Oliver was the same age as I am when he was shot and killed in a hallway outside his creative writing class at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. He drew his last breath in the place where he found his friends, his love, and his education. In so many ways, he mirrored the teenage male friends that I hold so dear to me. On the morning of Valentine's Day, he walked into school with flowers and a plan for a date with his girlfriend. He was a supportive brother, a thoughtful friend, and a beloved son, known for his loyalty. He was a brilliant writer, authoring brilliant poems and love stories for his girlfriend. He was proud of his Venezuelan heritage and his diverse taste in music. Additionally, we share the same love for the game of basketball. As a Floridian, he loved watching the Miami Heat, and when one of the greatest all-time players, Dwayne Wade, a three-time NBA champion, returned to their team in a trade to the Miami Heat, he was more than thrilled to have him back, and he wanted to see him play just one last time in the American Airlines Arena in Miami, Florida. Although this was never able to be achieved in Joaquin's lifetime, Dwayne Wade made sure he was not only watching the game, but playing it with him after his death. On March 4th, 2018, just weeks after the shooting, Dwayne Wade honored the legacy of Joaquin Oliver when he played in sneakers embroidered with the logo and the colors of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. Together, Dwayne and Joaquin won that game in a victory over the Detroit Pistons. He donated his jersey and sneakers to the Oliver family. After that game, Wayne said, "I'm thankful I got a chance just to talk to them and tell them my appreciation, to let them know we will continue to use our voice to continue to shine the light on what they're talking about." Today, the members of Students Demand Action, Congressman Gottenheimer and his Gun Sense colleagues continue Joaquin Oliver's legacy and the passionate spirit he exerted toward his friends, family, and community. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jillian Carbine. I'm a senior at Fairlawn High School, and I'm going to say a few words about Lena Petty, who was killed in the Parkland shooting 2 years ago. Elena Petty was a 14-year-old freshman at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. She was an ambitious young lady who had dreams of joining the military and was a junior ROTC cadet at her high school. Not only was she determined but kind-hearted, as she selflessly volunteered for Hurricane Irma victims. She was the kind of person who was always thinking of others beyond her own needs, and her legacy lives on through that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isabella, and I'm a junior at Ridgewood High School. 2 years ago, Helena, a girl no older than I am, did the unthinkable. In the midst of all that panic and chaos, she protected her friend instead of running away to safety. That day, a brave young woman was lost, a friend and a daughter, a beacon that shined a light so bright it made everyone around her happy. Helena didn't know what her future held for her. She just knew she wanted to return to England and help others, people and animals alike. She had a habit of taking in stray cats and caring for them, and at some point, 1 or 2 cats became 13. Helena was caring and a true friend who was able to put a smile on anyone's face no matter how bad their day was, laughing at her friends' corny jokes no matter how bad they were. The last text Helena received from her friend, "I love you so much, Helena, and I hope you're safe," will forever be saved on her phone. Now, a seat remains empty next to her best friend, for Helena can't sit there anymore.
Hi, I'm Ben Fink, and I'm a senior at Tanafly High School. I had the honor of getting to know Alex Shapter at Camp Echo over the summer of 2017. On the first day of camp, he wore a Ghostbuster shirt, so we called him Buster all summer long. He was truly one of the most kind, caring, and genuine people I've ever met. He was the type of kid that his smile would just make everyone else smile. And about 2 weeks before he passed away, he wrote a poem called Life is like a roller coaster. And the message of that is that no matter how many ups and downs in life there are, you can always do better, and there's always going to be a beneficial outcome. So we have the opportunity to be better, and on top of that, we have the opportunity to write the textbooks for our children and grandchildren.
Hello, my name is Sam McPherson, and I'm a junior at Fairlawn High School. Carmen Shentrup was a high school senior 1 week away from her 17th birthday on February 14, 2017. She was studying in her AP Psychology class at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. Carmen loved playing around with her hair color and was also dedicated to the medical programs at her school. She was a member of the Health Occupation Students of America and qualified for states both her junior and senior years, which are considered very important. Carmen planned on attending medical school and finding the cure for ALS after losing several loved ones to the disease. After her passing, Carmen's parents put her life savings into a fund to find the cure for ALS. Today we light this candle in Carmen's honor. For more information on Carmen, her parents began a website called shentrip.com in her honor, where there are links to donate to ALS research and more information on the Parkland shooting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin Glock, a senior from Northern Valley Demorest High School, and I'd like to say a few words about Peter Wang. Peter Wang dreamed of attending West Point. A member of the JROTC, he wore his uniform with pride and embodied a hero spirit. Peter spent his whole life defending others, shielding his cousin from bullying, exemplifying bravery and kindness in all of his actions. Protecting others was how he died. On February 14, 2018, he held a door to study hall open for his fellow classmates to escape the gunfire and was fatally shot. For this sacrifice, the U.S. Army has posthumously awarded him the Medal of Heroism. He saved dozens of lives in exchange for his own. He was 15 years old.
Hi, is this working? Okay. Hi, my name is Allie McCormick, and I'm the March for Our Lives New Jersey secretary. 18-year-old Meadow Pollock was a senior who planned to attend Lynn University in Boca Raton. She was known as a confident, sassy girl who valued her family and friends. She wrote in 2015 in a post that nothing makes her happier than her grandmother and her grandmother's smile. Another post is a screenshot of a humorous text between Meadow and her mother, in which the girl asked her mom why she loved her daughter since she was always asking for money. Meadow was gone too soon, as will all the victims of the March for Our Lives, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. There were 17 lives lost too soon on February 14th. The pain all of these families have gone through is indescribable, and it isn't just about mass shootings. It is about the communities of Newark and Patterson that face gun violence every day. We cannot ignore the realities of every form of gun violence. At the end of the day, many of us agree on how we need to end this gun violence epidemic. But that is not what today is about. It is about the families, it is about the victims, and it is about the love that we have for each other. This candle is for all the families and friends of the victims of lost in shootings. And now I'd like to introduce Alana.
As Ellie said, though today's vigil is about Parkland, Florida, we will also bring up all victims of gun violence. Gun violence does not only present in mass shootings, as we know. It also presents in drive-by shootings, suicides, smaller-scale shootings, domestic violence, and though most of our police devote and risk their lives to saving those in these situations, gun violence in some cases can also present itself in police brutality. However, as mentioned, most officers are out there saving lives. Just this morning, I saw the news of 2 NYPD police officers whose lives were almost ended in assassination attempts while doing their jobs and protecting their communities. One was shot in the neck and shin, and one was shot in the arm. Thankfully, both of them are in the hospital in stable condition. Shootings happen every single day all over this country, and a lot of these names we never know. I would like to bring up a few of these victims for us to honor today also. Though New Jersey is one of the states with the lowest number of gun deaths, 482 people a year die by gun here. Many of these shootings are smaller scale and are not at the top of our Twitter feeds. While writing this speech, honestly, I had a very hard time finding these people's stories because they are not big news stories that are plastered across the internet, but they matter. I was able to find one young boy's story from Asbury Park whose shooter recently got a 25-year prison term for the boy's death. This boy is Giovanni Ibanos Moreno. Giovanni was an innocent 10-year-old boy killed when a gunman was shooting into a rival's home. In this mayhem, both Giovanni and his mother, Lilia Moreno, were shot. Giovanni was shot in the shoulder and then went to hide under his bed. He died very soon after the shooting. Lilia was also shot and wounded. Thankfully, she has since been treated at a hospital and has physically recovered, but must live every day with the loss of her son. Again, this is only one family's story. There are many more that we just don't hear about. Let's also remember Calvin Desir, a former MSD student, and Sydney Aiello, a former MSD graduate. Both Calvin and Sydney died by suicide. Sydney's mother said she was struggling with both survivor guilt and PTSD from the shooting. The day after Sydney's funeral, 16-year-old Calvin took his life.
His family has not spoken publicly about the cause of his suicide. These deaths shook the Parkland community once again, as it happened about a year after the shooting. Shootings do not only result in casualties, they also result in everyone involved having these tragic memories for their entire lives. These traumatizing experiences should never, never happen to anyone. Students and teachers should not have to worry about this during lessons. Nobody should have to worry about this. Race also plays a huge role in gun violence. Racism can be a death sentence to many young black men. Last Wednesday, Trayvon Martin would have had his 25th birthday. Sadly, he did not reach this milestone. Trayvon was killed when he was 17 by a neighborhood watch captain who reported him as suspicious. Trayvon was walking to his dad's fiance's house with an Arizona iced tea in his hand and Skittles in his pocket. Many of us also don't think about the fact that we have lost great leaders to gun violence. Martin Luther King, Jr., a man whose life and legacy we just celebrated a couple of weeks ago. John F. Kennedy, a young president who was changing the world. Going all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, a man who helped turn this country into what it is today. Gun violence now takes the lives of our future, including our future leaders. Everyone is affected by gun violence. It happens on the streets, in schools, in movie theaters, in churches, in synagogues, in buses, everywhere. We light this last candle for Yavani, Sydney, Calvin, Trayvon, our late leaders, the victims who could have been our future leaders, and every single victim of gun violence.
Please welcome Clayton and Drew, who will be leading us through a moment of silence.
Hello everyone, my name is Clayton Drew. I went to Cliffside Park High School, now I'm at BCC. We'd now kindly like to ask everyone for a moment of silence to remember all the victims of gun violence. Thank you.
This country has gone through a lot. We went through the Columbine school shooting, and people said things were going to change. We went through the Sandy Hook school shooting. People said things were going to change. We went through the Las Vegas mass shooting, the worst mass shooting we've ever seen in this country. People said things were going to change. We went through the Parkland school shooting, and people said things were going to change. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. 36,000 people die from gun violence every year. That is a lot more than the population of Ridgewood. So every year, our country loses a Ridgewood. We keep on losing huge parts of our community. And not just the people who die, but people who know that person. And as people spoke about earlier, the reverberating effects of gun violence, people committing suicide, people's families. This is destroying lives. We should not have to have these vigils. We should not have to lose these people. This is the United States of America. It does not have to be this way. I first got involved with the gun violence prevention movement 2 years ago when this shooting happened. And I've been working really hard over the past 2 years, along with everyone up here to try to make an impact, try to make change. And 100 people still die every day from gun violence. It can be very frustrating. And for so many people, it's demoralizing. We're putting all this work, all this effort, and 100 people still dying every day. And while today we're talking about this mass shooting that happened in Parkland, as Alana spoke about, the vast majority of gun violence is not even in mass shootings. It happens in our cities, everyday gun violence. 100 people, even today, 100 people are going to die. It's scary. It's frustrating. And for a lot of people, it's very demoralizing. But we cannot allow that to shut us down. We cannot allow our frustrations to make us not want to do this. For me, it emboldens me to do more. It emboldens me knowing that 100 people are going to die tomorrow and the day after that. We need to be doing more. We need to get out there and continue to put up the pressure and make an impact, because we know we are making an impact. Over the past 2 years, we've done a lot of work. We registered almost 600 voters in the 2018 midterm elections in high schools in Bergen County. This past year, in 2019, we knocked on 9,000 doors. We are trying to change the narrative. We are making an impact. We can vote. And even if we can't vote, most of us up here can't vote. But that doesn't mean we can't tell people to come out and vote. That doesn't mean we can't register our friends to vote. There is so much that we can all do. And whether you're a student, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're anyone can make a difference. We have Larissa here from Moms Men Action, who works so hard organizing people to fight in this movement. We have Dennis from the Bergen County Brady campaign. We have March for Our Lives. We have Students Demand Action. So join us. Join us in this effort, because this year we can change things. We can transform this country. We can make an impact. We are right now, and we are going to get this done. Over the past 2 years, I've had the pleasure to work with Congressman Gottheimer on gun violence prevention. I've had the pleasure to work with Mayor Hachey in spreading gun violence awareness in Ridgewood when we organized our Gun Violence Awareness Day rallies. If we all join together, we can do this. Thank you. And one more thing, we have refreshments. If you go out there, take a right, and down the hall we have refreshments. Thank you.